abandoned ship.
Oh no!
Here we go.
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Well, it's another episode of Star Wars Escape Pod, and a big welcome back to everyone tuning in again. Always great to have an audience joining us for the ride and the conversation that follows. This week we have our co-host Blake joining us, and also Kyle, I think, is dropping in as well. So we're going to be talking about Tales of the Empire, episodes 1, 2, and 3 of that series. It is technically episodes 7, 8, and 9 in the overall Tales of series on Disney+. This is essentially season 2 in the lineup. And episode 1, 2, 3 involves Morgan Elsbeth and the origin story that takes place there. And later the story that follows in Ahsoka, of course, as we know. It'll be very interesting to talk about this character. So looking forward to doing that. We're also going to be going through a few more of the videos that Kyle took in Newfoundland. So a big hello to everyone tuning in from Newfoundland as well. And I think that's about it. That's the itinerary for today. So let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
Well, hello there, Blake.
Hello there.
Hello there.
With the soundboard at your disposal.
Yeah, what is this noise in the background? Is there an AT-AT stomping around? What is that?
That is the beautiful music of Kevin Kiner for Ahsoka Volume 1. It's Volume 1, Episode 1 to 4.
Wow. Let me change what I was saying. Isn't that just lovely? Listen to that tune.
That is the
the sound's coming through kind of janky.
yeah. I guess we're hearing you over the HoloNet this week. So this is the sound.
True. That's true.
Yeah, this is the song Ahsoka and Balin.
Oh, hold on, I'm coming in.
Oh yeah.
Hear me?
Yeah,
Hear me
yeah.
now? Oh, there it is.
Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we got you.
Mace Windu. Come on, Geonosis.
Bantas are filthy animals. I don't eat filthy animals.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good response. It's fair. I believe me here on Geonosis too. Thanks, Mace.
Yeah, thanks, Mace. All right, well, here we are. Tales of the Empire. It is hit Disney Plus as of a week ago on May 4th, so that's pretty exciting. And it was great to see these stories because, I know that Morgan Elsbeth isn't exactly, sometimes it's not exactly a character that we've seen a lot of. So, I know like some people out there might be a little less enthused by these first couple episodes. I was actually quite excited though because, I thought her character was kind of interesting, like one of the last Nightsisters out there. And to any fans of the Clone Wars who've seen the Clone Wars many times over, maybe there's some nostalgia there. I don't know. What were your thoughts on this first arc of Tales of the Empire with Morgan being the featured character?
I feel like they were really fleshing her character out because I know for myself, I was left with a lot of questions. Who's this character? Why is she here? Like she just seemed when we were introduced to her in, I guess it was in Mando season 3. It just seemed like she was just some random magistrate on some random planet, and then all of a sudden she showed up in Ahsoka. Like, right. Okay, what is this? And then they started fleshing her out more to be a reoccurring character. Well, now she knows Thrawn, and she's a nightsister, which threw us all for a loop because she didn't have any of the facial tattoos or like the pasty white face that kind of have the ghost face.
Mm.
I mean, iconic to the Night Sisters, right, on Dathomir, which they explained in this. So I felt like this was an animated show to fill a bunch of plot holes for this character that they kind of like almost like built on the fly, kind of as the shows progressed, decided to make her into a deeper character, and now they're trying to like fill in the gaps.
Yeah. I mean, it's and also I definitely want to focus in more on that Night Sister magic, thing like going on, like what you were saying with the tattoos on the face and all that. But yeah, it is kind of nice to have some of the gaps filled in because, quite frankly, a lot of us were a little confused when we heard that Thrawn and her had some sort of pre-existing alliance. It's like, okay, where was that story in all of the novels that we've read so far and the comic books or Star Wars Rebels and all this content that's came before, right? Like, what's the deal with that? So I think it's a worth something to I guess appreciate. Having a story that really gives us that information and puts it out there, right, in the lore.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was interesting just seeing how she was connected to Thrawn, because I never would have guessed she would have had anything to do with, like, shit, the spoiler button, have anything to do with the TIE Defender at all. That threw me off. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
A little late.
Yeah, I was on the wrong page.
Got flipped through. I guess I could have hit it too.
Yeah, you can hit it. Yeah. There you go.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the TIE Defender project, I was actually quite surprised that she was the one who came up with all that, because it was sort of insinuated in Rebels that he was the one, but I guess it
Thrawn,
makes...
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense, though, that it wouldn't be, because, he's definitely a smart guy. He's no, like, ship designer, though. Right, and I think
he's not an engineer, yeah.
Right, yeah, he's not an engineer.
Tactician.
Yeah, he's a tactician. He's not an engineer. So it does, in my head, at least now that I've seen this, it sort of makes sense. But it took me by surprise at first, because at least in my head, I've always thought, oh yeah, Thrawn was the guy who came up with the idea for the TIE Defender. But no, it really does make more sense that he's a tactician, right? He would find somebody who came up with this idea, see the brilliance in it, and then use that person to his own gain, right? For his own, I guess, like, gold standard ideals towards what the Empire should be built on, right? And that I guess like, made sense. I guess it was just a bit of a shock to me that it was actually Morgan that came up with that sort of thing, right? So
yeah, it got me wondering. Then we see that giant space ring in Ahsoka. Does that mean that she maybe designed that ship with the intention of maybe she was like the one behind building that ring to get the jump ring for the Star Destroyer to get all the way there? Yeah,
the IF Scion. Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe,
that's the name.
She probably was, to be honest. Like, and she has this advantage of being kind of out of the way. Yeah, she piloted it and was commandeering it. So like it makes sense that maybe she was sort of behind the project. And
actually makes more sense, because it always seemed so odd that ring just kind of came out of nowhere.
Right.
It's like, where? Because like if Thrawn's not there, Thrawn's not gonna come up with the idea to go get Thrawn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, like, on top of that, like, it doesn't look like the kind of thing the Empire would build necessarily. I guess, like, I don't know, like
a lot of resources. Yeah, for them to be so scattered.
Right. So it's and it's a very unique purpose, right? Is to jump galaxies. Like I mean, I could see the Emperor.
The sole intention was to go get Thrawn back.
Right. Yeah. So like it makes sense that maybe maybe Thrawn, being his own smart kind of person, would arrange some sort of contingency just in case something like that were to happen for whatever reason.
I guess it's kind of convenient that she was both Thrawn's personal ship designer and also a Night Sister, so the Night Sisters on the planet were able to tell her to come here to get Thrawn.
Yeah. It was very
small galaxy.
Yeah, small universe. You mean because it's like,
that's true.
Those are Night Sisters that are unconnected in a way to her, right? It was the first time she met those three when she first gets to Peridia, and yet they are night sisters and they are there and they happen to be on the same planet as Thrawn, and they didn't exactly go along for the ride. Like they were there when he got there. So I think there is just something more about Peridia that obviously none of us have seen yet, because this is a story that is yet to be told in season 2. But you know, it's going to be an interesting story to see, I think, once we get there. But we're going to start from, you know, the first episode of Tales of the Empire, move through the second, and then hit the third. But right before we do that, Kyle's quickly popped in to give us his 2 cents.
Hello there.
Hello there, yeah, and joining us on the hologram. The HoloNet.
There we go.
yeah. What are you up to, Kyle? You got some cool news. Some post.
Oh yeah. You know I'm always up to something.
Yeah.
So I'm actually sitting here at the Twilight Drive-In with my daughters. Say hi, girls. they're all nervous. Say hi. Okay, they're too scared to say hi. But
we'll say hello to them.
We're here. Yeah. See, they're gonna say hi to you. You can say hi louder.
Hello.
There you go. So whatchamajigers, those are my little wee ones.
Hello there.
But yeah, so we're gonna be here tonight at the Twilight Drive-In because they are hosting Star Wars: The Phantom Menace for all weekend, and we wanted to come down here on Friday night, the first weekend night that they had it, and there's lots of people here, lots of Star Wars people. We're going to have Francis down here as Revan. I'm going to be dressed up as a Jedi. And we're going to do some really fun stuff, like when Darth Maul ignites his lightsaber, I'm going to stand on the truck and light mine up and stuff.
Nice.
So we're just going to have some fun down here.
That's awesome. Oh man,
It sounds like a good time.
To anyone who's listening, who's tuning in, that isn't from the area that we are in, you know, would you be able to explain what the Twilight Drive-In is?
So the Twilight Drive-In is, I think it's like the last classic movie theater drive-in in the Lower Mainland. And it's a great place. It's so much fun. This is their last year that they're going to be open. So if you can, come on down for at least one movie, because you got to experience what this is like. I'm sitting in the truck here with my daughters watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because they usually do 2 movies and you pay for one.
Yeah.
And you just pop it onto your radio, and it comes in through your car sound system, and it's so much fun. You got lots of families here sitting here with their little pull-out chairs and everything, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. I've so many good memories, like growing up and hitting the drive-in movie theater there, and it's such a classic North American sort of cultural thing to do is drive with your car to an outdoor movie theater, and you park, tune your radio station into the very short range audio channel that's for the movie, and you know, you listen over your stereo, and you know, there's some people that have really nice audio systems. They'll crank their windows down or whatever and blast their stereo so other people can hear that they're sitting next to their car on a lawn chair or something like that. You know, you got the concession. It's a good time. It's a really good time. I feel like it's very unfamiliar though to all of our audience in Europe and Australia, and I don't know how widespread the awareness is for what a drive-in movie theater is, but it's a dying thing. To explain it would be,
I think the best way to explain it would be, I think they went to a drive-in movie in the movie Grease, and you get to see a movie theater, so, or like a drive-in theater in that. So it was big in the 50s and 60s. But it's something that is still extremely fun to do, and like, again, as I'm saying, there's tons of cars here, tons of families, and we're all getting ready for the Phantom Menace. I even brought some sabers, selling them out of the back of the truck in case anybody didn't bring any.
Nice.
And we've already gone through quite a few, so there's going to be quite a light up when this movie starts up. And my truck is the truck here. I even have a neon sign that sits on the top of it that says Star Wars.
Nice. That's so awesome.
Everybody knows.
Nice.
Yeah. Everybody knows. I told everybody on the way in, like, come to the one that if you need a saber, just look for that. And people, they're like, oh, that's the one.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, might as well go to where the customers are, right? Makes sense to me.
That's
Oh heck yeah, man! Oh heck yeah!
that's what Kyle does.
Well, it's time to see it. Okay. If you guys look outside right now, the Aurora Borealis is happening.
The
Oh,
what?
starting already?
Yeah, the Aurora Borealis is happening, dude.
There's
You can
a
see it right
sun
now.
flare
Holy
today.
shit! It looks amazing.
Oh
Come on
dang.
out.
Oh
Rose,
man.
come on out. Open
I'll
the
have to
door.
go to the
Okay,
roof.
we gotta
and
let you guys
take a
go.
look. All right, buddy. Have a good
Yeah.
movie. Have a good movie. May
All
the
right.
force be with you.
Cheers. You too. You too. May the force be with you guys too. Cheers, guys.
Decal.
Bye.
All right, Kyle. Thanks so much for that little tidbit. That was awesome. Yeah, sounds like he's gonna have fun. I mean, maybe we should join him.
Yeah, dude, like under the Northern Lights, watching
Yeah.
Phantom Menace,
Dude, yeah.
holding your saber.
It's a one of a kind.
Doesn't get much better than that.
No, I know. For the 25th anniversary of Phantom
Dude.
Menace.
Think of the photos.
Oh man,
Get your green saber under the green lights.
it's gonna be awesome. Yeah. I'll also really consider about, it starts in like 35 minutes, so can't have to think about it.
We better hurry up.
Yeah, I better get moving. All right, here we go. So starting with episode 1 of Tales of the Empire. This episode is called The Path of Fear. It was directed by Nathaniel Villanueva, story by Dave Filoni, written by Amanda Rose Minot. Original release date was May 4th, like all of these episodes are. And here is the story. During the Clone Wars, General Grievous and the Separatist droid army massacre the Night Sisters of Dathomir, except for Morgan Elsbeth, who is saved by the nearby mountain clan. Against the wishes of the clan's leader, the matron, Morgan and 3 young clan members attempt to recover Night Sisters' weapons. They are attacked by droids, and the matron's daughter is killed. The matron saves the others, but abandons Morgan. And I'll add in there, she gives her a bit of a warning for what is to come ahead if she continues down the path that she's sort of brought herself on in the course of that episode, which is basically just vengeance. The cast includes Matthew Wood as General Grievous, returning from his many present. He's the only guy that's ever played General Grievous, actually, other than the 2D Clone Wars series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Lydia Look as the matron.
He plays other characters too, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He's played the battle droids and the supers, and he does like little voices here and there. But Matthew Wood is big prominent guy at Skywalker Sound, but he is the voice of General Grievous in Episode 3, in the Clone Wars, in
oh wow, okay,
all of his forms other than the Genndy Tartakovsky General Grievous days. That's somebody else.
Tartakovsky,
Yeah, the Tartakovsky.
Interesting. I didn't realize he was the same voice actor from the film. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. The sound effects that they use, the modulation is slightly different, but it's the same.
I had noticed that.
Yeah, same guy though. Same guy. Lydia Look as the matron, Kathy Ang as Morgan Elsbeth, and Daisy Lightfoot as Nali, Diana Lee Inosanto as Selena, which Diana Lee plays Morgan Elsbeth in Ahsoka as the live action version, but in the animated series she plays her mother in the show. So that's really cool. Susie McGrath as the Witch Number 1, Meg Marchand as Witch Number 2, and Gina Hermosillo as Witch Number 3. So that's the cast, the crew, the story. And this whole episode was very, very cool to me because this really slots in like between 2 of the most awesome like Clone Wars episodes, and I'll tell you where. But can you remember which one I'm talking about?
I just know that it's during the arc where Asajj Ventress is home on Dathomir, and then the droids show up sent by Dooku, and they kill all the Night Sisters, and that's where we actually lose Mother Talzin. Yeah,
so she's not killed, but she does sort of disappear into like the mist and becomes sort of like ghost-like, because she approaches Ventress at the very end and she says like, "It is over, sister," and she says like, "Now you have your own destiny ahead of you," or whatever, and then it leaves Ventress, who's survived the ordeal, but all of the other Night Sisters have been slaughtered, and it kind of ends there. But like, you don't see Grievous leave the planet, you don't see the droids leave, you just kind of see them move on into the woods, and I guess it's like it's interesting because I guess that was just sort of leaving us with like the beginning of what was a much larger story, because now we've had all these other pieces of and bits of this entire, like, Grievous didn't just stop at killing Mother Talzin, or sorry, not Mother Talzin, the old lady that was casting the spell to bring back all the dead Night Sisters. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like the older witch.
Whatever. Yeah. So he knocks over like the what do you call it? The big pot, with the water of life in there or whatever, and stabs her, and she dies, and then all the zombie witches just like kind of collapse, and most of them are dead at this point. But anyway, it's a crazy story. The episode is called Massacre, and it is a season.
It's a good name. Very fitting.
Very fitting. Yeah, it's a season 4, episode 19, and it's right. So this episode kind of slots in right between 419 and 420, which is called Bounty. And that's the following episode. So Massacre is the only sort of glimmer of Clone Wars that we see of this event, which transpires. But it's so cool to know that, like, being Grievous, right? Like, he didn't just stop at the mission that Dooku gave him, which was, go and take care of Ventress and the Night Sisters down there. Like, he pretty much did a full, like, planet-wide cleanse and like hit all these different areas where there were like Night Sisters hiding. At least that's what it seems to me, because there's like this section in Jedi Fallen Order where you meet Merrin, and like Merrin is a Night Sister, and her entire clan has been destroyed as well, also by Grievous and the droids. And then there's Morgan Elsbeth, and
her clan was different than Asajj Ventress clan.
Yeah, so her clan was different in like location, and I assume they're the same sort of like clan, but maybe an extension somewhere else. But I mean, like, continuity wise, the visuals didn't quite line up, so I just assume it was like elsewhere, on Dathomir. But
right,
yeah,
as you're saying, because that's actually what raised a lot of questions for me in this episode. Because then we see like the Mountain Clan, which helps.
Yeah.
Morgan after the massacre. And then we wonder that because I kind of just, Star Wars, it seems like each planet is kind of condensed into one culture essentially. So I kind of just had the assumption that the entire planet was all Night Sisters under Mother Talzin. But then maybe wonder from this episode if there actually was different clans that were completely like self-run, and they each had their own leader.
Yeah, I guess they're maybe like Mother Talzin could be like kind of the queen of a lot of like subclans or something, but yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see the Mountain.
We must unite the clans.
Yeah. It must be. It was interesting though to see the Mountain Clan, and even their magic is different. They don't use the same sort of dark magic that the Night Sisters that we know have been using, like the green mist or whatever.
Oh, that's true.
Like
it was blue.
Yeah, it was blue, and it was almost like seeing the difference between the Wicked Witch of the West and then the what's her name? The one that's like the good witch. What's her name? Glycinda or whatever.
Sabrina.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, from Wizard of Oz,
Sabrina
right?
the Teenage Witch. Yeah, that's her.
Wizard of Oz, right? Like oh my goodness, why am I not remembering this? Anyways, yeah, so it was kind of
witch.
Yeah, the good witch of the east or the north or whatever. And so like I just thought of that when I saw this sort of elder woman with this like crazy white magic and whatever else, like blue and white magic. I was like, dang, like that's a very stark difference between the type of magic that Ventress's clan or Merrin's clan is familiar with using. So it was interesting that this episode not only expanded lore on the Night Sisters themselves, but also told us some of the story of Morgan's youth. And another really cool part was when I guess the magic has like faded because like she loses all her face tattoos. Like, how did you, I guess, dissect that, or how did you interpret that moment? Because like I guess like to me it was a little confusing because Marin from Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, like she's never lost her tattoos either, and like she's never lost her tattoos.
She has her own power though.
She does, yeah, and then
she uses nightsister magic.
Right, and then of course like Ventress, like we never saw anything weird happen with her, and but like the only person
that's what crossed my mind more.
Yeah,
was Ventress, because she never lost her tattoos.
Right. So like it kind of makes me wonder, like, is Morgan Elsbeth just adopted into that Night Sisters clan, that maybe her skin went white and the tattoos showed up, kind of like how like this entire in Ahsoka, like she never had the tattoos either because that's all all consistent, and then only at the end when she's empowered by the Night Sisters of old that she gets that white sort of like skin back and like the black eyes and the tattoos again, right? So I wonder if maybe she's, I don't want to call her like a proxy, but like maybe she's sort of, I guess, subject to Night Sister magic. Like she's not exactly I guess a full scale
a user,
right? Yeah,
herself. She's not casting anything.
Yeah, exactly. She can only, because even in this episode, we didn't see her cast any spells or anything, right?
No, she just did melee combat.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if she's really an authentic Night Sister or if she's just sort of inducted into the clan.
I think she is because her mother was, and her mother used magic. But
yeah,
I think it might be more along the lines that she was just too young and hadn't learned it properly.
Right, and so maybe because she was that young, like she never got the full.
She wasn't trained. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, she never got the full baptism thing, and it's also possible that like Ventress, like she is genuinely like one of their kind. You can see it in her skin tone and everything else. Like that wasn't all magic. Like that was just like her body, right? And she was like that from a baby because we saw her as a baby, like in a flashback scene. So like it's definitely possible that Morgan's probably maybe like half or something, and like being half, like maybe to become full Night Sister or whatever, she has to go through like that baptism.
That whole event. Section I've always found very confusing around Night Sisters because they seem to mainly choose mates from Zabrak. Right.
Yeah. I guess. Well, no, I don't know if they mate with the Zabraks rather than they like enslave them and like rule over them kind of thing. Do they use them as mates?
I think so, because when Asajj shows up there, they seem to imply that she was there to choose a mate.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. Yeah, it's. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, that is odd, isn't it?
I'm positive that's what it is. Because they're all on the same planet, like Dathomir.
Yeah. So why isn't it that they don't get like the horns or anything like that?
That's what I mean. That's this whole thing. That whole area of lore I've always found very confusing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
there's just so many holes. I feel like there's been ideas thrown out, but nothing's been like fleshed out enough that it makes complete sense.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see more. I mean, like that's just it, right? Like so much doesn't add up when you start getting into like sort of subsidiary force power stuff like the Night Sister magics. It's like, man, there's so little that's known about it. So it's nice to get these kind of stories because it sort of tells a story where there is none. But yeah, I mean, it was cool to see. I like this episode quite a bit, and to see the further detailed campaign that Grievous has against the Night Sisters was very, very cool. And
and the fact that they're just flying around trying to eradicate all of them, and even the Night Sisters themselves were kind of naive to it.
Yeah, it really puts more feeling into why Ventress's episode in the Clone Wars is called Massacre. Like it's not just her village, like it's everybody, and everything she knows, and everywhere across her planet. Like they are trying to eradicate every single village of witches that they can possibly find. And I think what makes the Mountain Clan so wise and is able to survive is that event is because they keep to themselves and they keep hidden. They don't. They're probably a bit more comparable to the Jedi in that sense, where they're not out for blood, they're not out for vengeance. Like they just want to be left alone. They just want, well, in that sense, they probably wouldn't be quite like the Jedi, I guess. But I guess like, they're more, they would use their power more for defense and for good rather than sort of what the other Night Sisters have been up to, from time to time. Bit more on the baddie,
raising the dead.
Yeah,
curses.
yeah, exactly. A bit more on the baddie side.
Like necromancy.
Yeah, a bit more villainy in there. So yeah, I mean, to me, like these people seemed like good people to me. Like the Mountain Clan, like they seemed like they were like they had the.
You wouldn't know they were Night Sisters.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah, and you like that's the thing, right? Like they don't seem like they're villains. They seem like they're of the same type of people, but not sort of been dragged to hell and back.
It almost seems like they have almost their own like, faith or belief system. It's like it was quite a bit different.
Right. Yeah. Let's give this guy some Pablo points of Poodoos, of course. What would you award this one? You want to give the rating system?
Sure, I'll give a brief summary. Here at Star Wars Escape Pod, we like to review a lot of Star Wars content, and we tend to review with our Pablo points and Poodoos system. If you're a new listener, how it works is it's a scale of 7. It starts with at the very bottom of a -3, that's 3 Pablo Poodoos, and you work your way up to 0, that's a Bendu, and then you go to +3 Pablo points. So for this episode, I would actually say this was probably the best of the 3, in my opinion. I thought it to me, this explored the most story, and then we'll get into the next 2, but I feel like each one was a bit of a step down. So this one I felt like filled in the most questions I had around Morgan, and it has some pretty cool action in the fact that it really just ties in to the Clone Wars arcs, one of the better, if not one of the best Clone Wars arcs.
Right.
I think I would give this like well, there were some slow points. I'll stick to 2. I'll give it 2 Pablo points.
Yeah, I think I would give it 2 as well. Like it was a solid story in my opinion. Definitely like you said, like one of the better ones of the 3. And I think it definitely grabbed my attention, being the first one of the 6 episodes. So it was cool to watch. All right, sweet. Let's move on to the second one here, The Path of Anger. So this was also directed by a familiar name, Stuart Lee, and written by Dave Filoni. Story by Dave Filoni, written by Amanda Rose Minot, as the previous one is. Also released May 4th. And here is the story. During the reign of the Empire, Morgan becomes magistrate of the resource-rich planet Corvus and promises to bring jobs and prosperity for the local population. She designs the new TIE Defender fighter, but her proposal to make it for the Empire is rejected by Moff Isdane. Admiral Thrawn takes an interest in the proposal and sends his assassin, Rukh, to attack Morgan. After she holds her own, Thrawn accepts her project and offers his assistance. This included the cast of Lars Mikkelsen returning as Grand Admiral Thrawn, Xander Berkeley as Gilad Palion, that's Grand Admiral Palion, or whatever title he is in whatever era that you're reading from, Tom Conkle as Moff Isdane and Villager 1, Diana Lee Insanto as Morgan Elsbeth, as we know her to be. We had Warwick Davis returning as Rook, and Meg Marchand as Villager 2, Shelby Young as Villager 3, and Wing Ti Chao as Wing. So that was very cool. Wing is the guy that we see in The Mandalorian who's approached by Din Djarin. He, the Chinese guy. He returns as his role as Wing, which, he's protecting the kids from Din Djarin, and he says to Din Djarin, like, please don't talk to us. So he returns to play his character and voice his character in this show. So it was cool to see him back too. I could right away, I could totally tell it was him.
Yeah, they modeled him super well. He looked just like his character from Mando season 3.
Yeah, that was awesome to see him back. So yeah, so this was an interesting episode. I mean, this is the one where we figure out all that. We already talked about the TIE Defender stuff, but you know, it was interesting to see Rook in Clone Wars style art form in that version of animation. He is so much more scary.
Think about that,
dude. He looks so much better in Clone Wars form than in Rebels form. Oh my goodness, I was blown away. I was like,
I don't know. I still get nightmares just thinking about Rebels. Different reasons, though. I'm just kidding. I like that show.
Oh man, I you know, that's the thing. Like,
yeah, because I didn't think about that. It's different style. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like the one thing about Rook in Rebels is like he fits into that art form, like, you know, just like with everybody else, which is a lot softer and a lot more like everyone's teeth is like perfectly straight, you know what I mean? And then like in Clone Wars, like that's where things get a little more gritty. So you know, if you look up a comparison of him in Rebels versus him in Tales of the Empire, it's like you know, I'll take Tales of the Empire any day of the week.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I think a lot of it just comes down to different textures, because I know in Rebels it was very flat. Things were very like pastel-y and like kind of all monotone, whereas Clone Wars, everything was very hand painted, almost like a matte painting.
yeah. Very cool to see in Clone Wars art style. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I have to say though, I was not expecting him to show up in this, so I was pretty pleasantly surprised to see that he showed up, and it made me think immediately like, oh, he was sent by Thrawn, because Thrawn was so adamant about using Rook in Rebels that it was just it was instantly recognizable as like Thrawn's henchman.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know, and like for him to be able to show up like that in this small show was cool, because we didn't really get a whole lot of him in Rebels, like not until kind of the end of the show. And I think that was kind of a for the most part, like I know like they were, you know, obviously it's difficult to want to pack in one episode with so many different characters all the time, but I feel like we didn't really get enough screen time with him, and you know, to get him back for a brief like fight scene to see what he's really capable of, because he's supposed to be, he's Thrawn's like personal assassin, right? So like, I mean, there's got to be something special about him, and in Rebels, like we just didn't really see him be that capable warrior. He's just kind of a buffoon.
Well, yeah, he was a bit buffoonish. But I mean, it took both Sabine and Zeb to take him down.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
doesn't he have like a full body camouflage?
He wears like I think it's like invisibility thing or something, right? Isn't it? Or cloak?
Some sort of cloak, right?
Yeah.
Cloak of invisibility. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then of course, like seeing Thrawn back, Lars Mikkelsen, awesome as usual, and
young Thrawn.
The young Thrawn, and what it was blew me away was that they actually kept the consistency with his Clone Wars era or like young Empire era suit that we see on the cover of one of the Thrawn novels. So that was very, very cool to see.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love when they do stuff like that. They kind of like keep everything very cohesive.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. And then of course Pelion, who we've now seen in Mandalorian season 3, and I think
that guy's been old forever.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Like it's cool.
It's like he never had a childhood.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool to see because you know, he's a character that when he popped up in live action for the first time, it was quite something to see a character from the expanded universe make their return into the canon again. But I mean, also to have that presence of him so early on now in the animated series, and to bring more story to that character at an earlier point in time, always very cool to see, you know. And that's what these Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire stories are good for, is like giving us just a little bit of a flash into a certain time frame of a certain character, and when you get those background characters, if you will, showing up as well, it's really kind of nice, you know, because it kind of does them a favor as well.
Yeah, and the fact that he goes all the way back to the original novel where Thrawn debuted also is it's really cool how they're just keeping that canonicity, very trying to make it as connected to what the EU version was as possible. And I always love when they do that.
For sure, yeah. This particular episode, was it literally just her? Oh, you know what? It was kind of her relationship growing with the villagers. I guess that was sort of the main story point. Other than the TIE Defender thing and meeting Thrawn for the first time, how she got connected to the Empire, because there's also no explanation to that as well. Right. Yeah, like she really, I guess, goes from being an outcast nightsister in a way to becoming a magistrate of a village on a, you know, potentially resource-rich planet, kind of pretty like far from anything. And so, like, you know, the villagers are looking to her to bring prosperity and jobs, like, to their planet, right? So it was really interesting to see her really climb that ladder and them start to rise up against her and start to put pressure on her. It's like, hey, where's everything that you promised and all that. And then by the end of the episode, like, you know, you get that moment where the Star Destroyers come in. I think, was that this episode? Or was it the next one?
Yeah, that was at the very end. Yeah, because once Thrawn showed up after he had tested her and she had passed, then they brought the Star Destroyers in.
Yeah, so that was very cool to see, and that feeds directly into the next episode as well. So, what would you give this?
One thing that I was questioning though was, how did she become what essentially was the leader of this planet in the first place? Because it seemed like they were a peoples, and she just kind of showed up and then just started. She just became mayor. Yeah.
Well, I guess
this.
I guess we're flashing forward like 20 years or more. I assume that this is, or no, actually not even. Yeah, because I guess this was definitely prior to Rebels with Thrawn. So maybe like 10 years. I would say like 10 years ish, or I don't know, 7. You know, something around like Andor time frame maybe.
It's gotta be pretty early Empire
or
I think.
Earlier. Yeah. So yeah, it was like,
because at the beginning of this episode, which was really cool. So I want to point this out is we see, I think it's probably one of the first Imperial class Star Destroyers.
Right.
It's tailing 2 Venator Star Destroyers from Clone Wars.
Yeah, that was very cool to see. I like that shot. It was awesome. It was cool to see I guess like the reason that she would be a powerful character in this small town in the middle of nowhere is because she comes from power, right? So I think it was like neat to see her taking that initiative. So in terms of like, why did she get to being in that position so quickly? I think to me, the natural answer in my head would probably be, well, it's because she's got nothing to live for. Like, she was probably just that persuasive and that taking initiative, that, you know, commandeering kind of person that would go to a place where there's a lot of vulnerable people that aren't very familiar with the outside. You know, they probably never left their own planet kind of thing. And then here's this off-worlder who comes in and has all of this knowledge and all these skills, and you know, they probably initially look to her for guidance and rely on her because I mean, she's a smart person. Like, she designed the TIE Defender, right? So like, I guess like they're looking to her for leadership and thinking, oh, she's our answer. Like, she's gonna help bring us out of this lull that we're in, you know. And then of course it goes very south on the people of that village, that essentially they probably elect her into that position, and then things just take a turn for the worst, right?
Well, I know it was like the beginning of the next episode. Yeah, the guy we were talking about earlier, who had a really good model.
Wing.
Like I should never have let her take control of this town.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
so it's like almost immediately, like, yeah, it seemed to me on paper, it just seems like kind of a no-brainer. This is not going to work out the way you think it's going to, but
Right.
maybe that's the outside looking in. Maybe they were just so desperate, you know? But,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what would you give this for Pablo Points and Poodoos?
I did enjoy this one quite a bit as well. I would say not quite as much as the previous one, but it filled in some more much needed gaps. I will say maybe 1.5 Pablo points.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. I mean, like that's the thing, right? Like it's a much needed story, and it's not an epic story, and quite frankly, it's not exactly what I would consider like some of the best Star Wars animation stories ever told or anything like that. But it's one of those just very, very useful episodes of storytelling where it's like, wow, that was very enjoyable for, many reasons of this character's story being fleshed out, right? So, even though it's not like a 2-pointer or 3-pointer, whatever, I still really liked it a lot. I just, but I mean, yeah, it was the kind of episode that unless you're invested in that character's story, like, someone might not enjoy it as much, but yeah, very, very good episode. Very good. So, let's move on to the third one here. The Path of Hate. So it's interesting. We start with the path of fear. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate leads to suffering.
It's just suffering.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that
I noticed that too when I was reading the titles.
Yeah. And that is implied in Ahsoka when she, meets her fatal end. But yeah, Path of Hate. Directed by Nathaniel Villanueva, story by Dave Filoni, written by Amanda Rose Minow again, also released May 4th. After the fall of the Empire, former Corvus citizen Nadura returns as an ambassador of the New Republic. She demands that Morgan step down as magistrate due to her mistreatment of the locals and allow Corvus to join the New Republic. Morgan, who has received a vision that she believes is key to the future, kills Nadura and begins burning down Corvus's forests. Before she dies, Nadura sends a distress signal to Bo-Katan Kryze. The cast includes Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan Kryze, Diana Lee Inosanto as Morgan Elsbeth, Shelby Young as Nadura, Steve Bloom as a New Republic guard. Steve Bloom is the voice of Zeb, and he also plays Reggie, and Wing Ti-Chow as Wing once again. So that's the cast, and that's the story. This was an interesting episode because it does follow the events, the setup of the previous one, but it flashes forward by another like 10 or 15 years to, or maybe even 20, to the point of the time frame right before the events of Ahsoka. And, literally right before. Because,
Mando.
Mando. Yeah. Mandalorian season 2.
But
2.
Ahsoka is there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Mandalorian season 2, I guess, is where it comes right before because of that connection between Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. Bo-Katan is now made aware of because of the events of this episode. She is now aware of like a distress on that planet, and I guess at the present time, Bo-Katan has connections within the New Republic. I mean, she is technically at this point in time like not reclaimed Mandalore just yet. I don't really know why she has connections within the New Republic. That's a question that is yet to be answered. But she is contacted by this ambassador, maybe because she is nearby. Who knows, right? But because there is a connection between Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, and I assume since the events of Star Wars Rebels, her and Bo-Katan have probably stayed in touch, remained in communication with one another. And so I assume Bo-Katan probably contacts Ahsoka to go help that village or go help those people because Bo-Katan knows that Ahsoka is out and about, doing this kind of thing, going and doing good deeds, in the galaxy. So I assume that's maybe what she does, or either that, or because Ahsoka's like fighting Morgan Elsbeth and kind of questions her right away, like, you know, where's Grand Admiral Thrawn? Like, you get the idea that maybe she's looking for Ezra at this point as well. And I don't know, I just think...
Right, I do remember that from the episode. We were wondering that a lot.
Exactly. So there must be... It's either a good deed thing, or maybe even more likely, it's because Bo-Katan knows that maybe this Morgan Elsbeth is on Corvus, and perhaps she was...
kind of wish they'd explained that better. Like, I feel like this... To me, this was
the Bo-Katan cameo.
Episode.
The Bo-Katan cameo it was cool, but it was also confusing, right? Like, I'm just trying to make sense of it because like what makes Bo-Katan the voice that would come up over the intercom that would then lead to Ahsoka going there to question Morgan about where Thrawn is, right? Like, I just don't really see the pattern of. I can't really connect the dots.
Has a cameo in this episode? I might have missed that.
Yeah, but Bo-Katan's the voice on the comm system at the very end, right when what's her name dies? Nadira, the ambassador.
Oh, interesting. I missed that.
Yeah,
okay.
so that's what I was saying. Like Bo-Katan is the person that shows up on like as a voice, asking like, you know, we received your distress call or whatever, like what's up, right? And it's just confusing to me why that voice, because like it's there as probably as a placeholder for the reason that Ahsoka then shows up to save the village, right? But Ahsoka shows up not just to save the village, but she also shows up to question Morgan about the whereabouts of Thrawn. So what I'm saying is, how does Ahsoka know that Bo-Katan is, you know, why does she know that Morgan is on that planet? Like, how does she know that? And how would Bo-Katan know that from the very limited amount of no reply on the other side of the intercom when she calls in because of the distress call, right?
That's my issue with this episode. Is I feel like it should have been used to answer questions like the previous two, but instead it just made more questions. It's like, what does Bo-Katan have to do with the ambassador coming to this planet in the first place?
That's just
make any
it.
Sense.
That's just it. I have no clue. And that's what I'm trying to kind of mentally puzzle out here is like, what's the relevance there? And then also, how does this fit into Ahsoka looking for Ezra and Thrawn, right? Because like I'm kind of confused on the timeline of because even in the Ahsoka show, like the timeline was sort of retroactively filled in that her and Sabine had like tried to go looking for Ezra before, and then like their master and apprenticeship didn't work out, and then like that fell apart. And you know, was there like, am I jumbling my words up a little bit? But I mean, is that kind of what happened?
There's just a lot. Because of the time jump of characters that we knew, and they changed course a lot with the storylines, we were left with a lot of questions. And that's without even getting into any of that stuff. I felt like this episode really kind of missed the opportunity to explain stuff a little better. Like, I think it would have been better to show her reconnecting with the Night Sisters that were on that far planet and how she figured that out in the first place. Because I've been around this time frame, how she figured out like Thrawn was alive, right?
I agree.
That would have fit into this era, and I feel like that's something that would have been a more interesting story to tell. Instead, it just felt like they wanted an explanation to why Ahsoka showed up and why all the trees were burned. And to me, that just wasn't as important.
Right. And I feel like it causes more questions than answers because now I'm wondering like what
creates more plot holes.
Yeah, because now I'm wondering, okay, like first off, like what's the connection between Morgan via Bo-Katan via Ahsoka, right? Via the reason that Ahsoka is there looking for Thrawn. Like, it just doesn't really quite make any sense.
And Bo-Katan and this ambassador who used to be someone who lived on this planet and worked with the other mechanics building ships.
And like, why would she know Bo-Katan, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't get it. So yeah, I think you're right. You're totally like right there in the sense like I think it would have been a better idea to avoid any of that material and go with how she figures out that Thrawn is alive, and then being communicated by the Night Sisters on Peridia by having these dreams, right? That she speaks about.
And on top of that, not only is that something we want to know, but it also would create kind of a full circle story of how she was a Night Sister. She, everything kind of fell apart, and then her meeting Thrawn, and then the last one would be her like rekindling that from her childhood connection to the Night Sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. This third episode to me just felt like they didn't know really what to do, and so they just kind of made something. But I feel like they like, it's almost like the episode came out, like the timeline, like where they placed it is just a handful of years too early to the story I actually want to know.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I think this third episode is kind of where it fell apart, and to be honest, I think it was a Bendu for me. Like, I just solid, kind of in the middle.
That's what I was gonna say.
Nice.
I'll give it half a poodoo just so we don't have all the same reviews.
Oh, hey, yeah, there you go. Well, you don't give enough poodoos as it is, so.
I don't give a lot of poodoos.
Yeah.
I don't squat on a lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, though, I mean, I did, like, despite wanting something else out of this episode, like, it was neat to see the, flame guys tear down the woods just out of pure her vengeance, out of her rage. Like, I thought that was kind of bold. It was a bold story choice, and I guess, like, because the forest does look freshly burned when Ahsoka and Mando are there, I guess it makes sense time frame wise to have that event happen there. But yeah, again, it
did feel very unnecessary.
It did feel very unnecessary for sure, and I totally would have wanted a different story out of this third episode. But
because I thought the ship was gonna blow up and just start a fire, and instead they just went and intentionally ignited it themselves.
Right. It's so funny that you say that, because I was actually thinking the exact same thing. Like, when the ship blew up and there was all this like wind, all these embers and stuff that were floating around, like, I thought for sure the forest would catch on fire, and then she would probably just say, like, leave it, right?
You rebel scum.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
I'm here with Victoria. Now, Victoria, who has the coolest lightsaber, and why do you think that?
Oh, what's the guy with the double blade one?
Oh, Darth Maul.
Darth Maul.
Yeah, so Darth Maul. And why do you choose that one?
It's the double blade. It's bright red. Swings it around.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Well, thank you for that.
All right, thanks, Morgan.
He has a solid answer.
This is a solid answer. I mean, Kyle's gonna be swinging that thing around tonight at the drive-in showing. So yeah, that'll be pretty cool. By the way, as of right now, the movie had started like 10 minutes ago, so he's probably doing that right about now.
Standing on top of his truck, swinging around that double-bladed lightsaber.
Oh man,
helicopter style. Hopefully, it doesn't get air.
Yeah,
like Inquisitor. Fly right over the screen.
Yeah, Mary Poppins style.
Yeah.
What is your favorite legacy lightsaber? I feel like we may have talked about this already, but what's your favorite character?
Okay, hilt?
Yeah, hilt wise, yeah.
We did actually talk about this, and I went with the Force Unleashed Episode 1 Starkiller Saber.
Oh, yeah.
But I do actually really enjoy the Kestis saber, the one that it's the, what is it?
It's like Jedi Fallen
It's
Order?
Alex's favorite saber. It's like a specific version of the Kestis saber.
It's yeah. It's their own it's like a third party market saber hilt.
I didn't actually even know that, but it looks so cool.
It's called the Boon Kestis, I think.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's a cool saber too. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I don't think that's from any actual like story or anything like that. It's like literally a custom kind of piece, but it's very neat. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to ask Kyle the details on that then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mine is for the longest time it was just the standard
Anakin 2.
Anakin Luke lightsaber, the Skywalker saber, I guess you can call it now. But I don't know. Like I over the years, I've really grown back onto the Anakin Episode 2 lightsaber. Yeah, like that was initially my favorite for the longest time, and then I liked like the other one for the longest time because like I had the Master Replica, so I looked at it all the time. But I don't know. It's there's really something special about Anakin's Episode 2 lightsaber because it looks almost exactly like Darth Vader's lightsaber. It's just a Jedi version of the Darth Vader saber, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like down to the shape. It's just
all the black pieces are chrome.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I really like about it. And it's got like a very unique flair to it with the little green and red lights on it. I feel like no other lightsaber hilt for a character typically has features like that. And that's what makes that one stand out.
Just got to be a main character.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like Windu's is really known for its like gold. You know, it's got a ton of gold on it, which not a lot of the other lightsabers have. But if you think about like Yoda's or Obi-Wan's or Dooku's or like Ventress or like there's a lot of like just silver or gray or black, right? And
yeah, silver and black.
Yeah, and if it's not like Dooku's giant red ignition switch, or Mace Windu's like gold flares, like there's really not a crazy amount of like highlight like color features on lightsabers, and I think that's what makes Anakin Episode 2's Padawan lightsaber just so interesting. Is like he's a techie kind of guy. It really showcases his character for using maybe unconventional parts for things, and I just really like it a lot. Like it's got sort of the a bit of a characteristic to it that has a hint of his like youth in there, but then it's also very Jedi-like and also very reminiscent of Vader. It's sort of the ultimate Anakin Skywalker lightsaber, and his Clone Wars lightsaber, which I also really love, which is the one that Luke uses, is now almost thought of as like the Skywalker saber. It's like it's not really associated with any particular character anymore. It's like here now it's Rey's lightsaber, now it's now it's Luke's lightsaber, whatever. And just like it's nice to have a favorite lightsaber that's like very strongly associated with just one character. And like to me, that's Anakin Episode 2 lightsaber. So that's probably why it's my favorite.
Fair.
Yeah, it was also my first lightsaber toy was also that lightsaber. So yeah, there is that flick out flashlight style. Yeah,
I remember those. Yeah,
so good. Yeah, you don't want to hit that against anything, otherwise the tube just snaps right out.
I think I just had the Anakin 3. That was it.
Oh, okay. All right, here's another one.
All right, hi. I'm here with
Sheldon Mercer.
Awesome, Sheldon. So, what is your favorite John Williams score from Star Wars, and what one would you pick? Like Duel of Fates or straight up the opening titles?
It's got to be Duel of Fates.
Yeah?
Gotta be.
I know, because
so iconic.
Yeah, and as soon as that second light up.
And as soon as you hear it, you get...
Oh, the video stopped there, but buffering issues. But yeah, Duel of Fates.
Get the tingles.
Oh yeah.
And you just want to fight someone?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so we got a
Duel of Fates. All right, awesome. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Sheldon. What is your favorite John Williams score out of the whole saga?
Holy moly, that's a huge question, actually.
It is.
Like, I don't know if because like I feel like you have to do it by era. I don't know if you could pick one because both like the Force theme and the Imperial March are so classic. And then the prequels, you get I'm gonna say Across the Stars, but that's the novel, isn't it?
No, that's that's the song.
Did I get it right?
You're thinking of Lost.
Okay, I was getting
of Lost
up.
Stars.
That's the one. I always get the names mixed up.
Yeah.
So Across the Stars, you got Duel of the Fates. I think of course you got what's the other one? There's
like Binary Sunset. We got
there's the two. There's the Episode 3 theme with Anakin versus Obi-Wan, and then you got the
Battle of the Heroes.
Battle of the Heroes. Thank you. That's the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like,
a good one.
But also iconic. I don't know if I could really like pick one between all. I would say Duel of the Fates for the prequel era, and probably the Force theme for the original trilogy. But man, even like the Millennium Falcon asteroid chase theme is like so good.
It is, yeah, and it's so hard to rank John Williams scores because like they're all so fitting for the moments that they're for, right? But
Exactly.
Man, if there's one that just gets my head like smashing every single time, it's definitely Duel of the Fates. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I hear you.
It's the one that just always delivers every single time without fail. Like you always get the feels like so strongly. It's like, yeah, this is the most epic song of all time. Yeah,
I agree with that, but for different reasons. I think I would actually go with the Force theme because that to me that's the one that like
Binary Sunset.
It'll just it'll bring a tear to your eye, man.
Yeah,
you can really feel it, and with that the cinematography of just Luke looking over that landscape, like it brings it all together.
Yeah,
you can feel it. You can really feel where he's at.
Yeah, definitely. I think like they're very stark different songs there, right? Like one of them is sort of the ultimate epic grand scale Star Wars type of song, and then the other one is so much more mild and sort of like a very humble song, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean it's hard to pick, right?
That's exactly it. There's so many good ones, honestly.
Yeah.
I have just laid on my couch and listened to Across the Stars on repeat before. Like they're so good.
If you just choose the Revenge of the Sith end credits song, you get pretty much everything wrapped up in one
or even
book.
just like the. Sorry, I'll let you finish before I go on this tangent.
Okay, I was just gonna say if you choose one of the end credit songs for like Phantom Menace or I think Phantom Menace or maybe definitely Revenge of the Sith has it. Revenge of the Sith has all of the themes like at the very end, and it's in this like amazing composition that kind of strings them all together. It's fantastic. I'll send it to you, but it's like if you've never just watched the full end credits of Revenge of the Sith, you just need to for the music because it's one long song that's like got all the like themes kind of strung through it, and it's unbelievable. So anyway,
Right, I'm gonna change my answer because there's one that I've always loved, and it's been impossible to find a proper recording of it of high quality. So you can find some like YouTube versions. That's about it. It's specifically the opening theme of Revenge of the Sith. After the title crawl, you get the war drums over top of the Star Wars theme.
Yeah, that's not on the soundtrack. Yeah.
No, they didn't do it. It made me so mad.
Yeah, it's not on the soundtrack. That's just the movie. I don't really know why they do stuff like that. Like why they don't release a full sort of just take it from the cut of the film.
Movie accurate.
Yeah.
Well, probably what it was John Williams recorded it and there was no drums, and then Skywalker Sound added that afterwards is most likely what happened.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate because it's so good, and I wish they had put it into the soundtrack.
Yeah, it is very good. It's a very good opener for sure. But yeah, awesome. All right, let's take a listen to the next one.
All right, I'm here with Ian. Hi, Ian. So my question to you is, what is your favorite Star Wars video game and why?
Out of the limited number I have played, I'm currently playing The Fallen Order. I think that one might actually be my favorite because I find they use the Force powers very well for world exploration and like creating shortcuts and stuff. And the lightsaber combat I find is very satisfying.
Yeah,
and they give you lots of customization.
Yeah, I'm big on that one too. And also the new Survivor one. Have you tried that?
I have not.
Get ready, buddy. It's good.
I have it. I'm just playing through Fallen Order first before I get around to it.
That's, you know what, because the storyline does pick up right after that, so you're really going to love it. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Of course.
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, Fallen Order is fantastic. Those two games. You played through the first one, right?
Yep, and I, with the May the 4th deals, I just bought the sequel the other day, so I have yet to play it, but it is going to be on my short list.
Very nice. Yeah, it's such a great game series. My favorite game is I mean, I've spent so many hours like playing the PC CD-ROM for Republic Commando, and you know, I admittedly haven't played it for so long now, but that's a great game. I probably would say that game, if not that one, maybe.
Like the original Battlefront 2 from 2006.
I have really good memories of the original Battlefront 2, but not for the like mostly just with like a friend or two, like with Galactic Conquest, right? But the actual gameplay, like the story and stuff, even though I have played it, it's like it's okay. Like it's not like my favorite though. For a shooter game, I definitely preferred Republic Commando. But if not the Republic Commando game, I would actually say the Battlefront 2 EA game, the online multiplayer for that. I've got so many hours logged, and just what a great campaign that was, and very good story and everything. I wouldn't put that up necessarily like above Jedi Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order in the sense of like cinematic enjoyment, but it was just a solid game. I've put more hours into that game alone than like Fallen Order, Survivor, and Lego Star Wars combined. So I would probably say
Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, or any of the Lego Star Wars. There's been so many now.
I feel like I gotta give it to the original KOTOR or KOTOR 2. Like they need some representation here. They were like the landmark Star Wars game. They defined between that and the original Halo, like defined the Xbox. They were so good.
You recently replayed that, right? KOTOR?
I replay it like probably every 8 months.
Nice. Dang, you gotta get the mobile
I definitely
version.
know. I've seen Bryce play that before. I don't know. To me, I feel like you got to sit down to enjoy it because I feel like you don't get the same level of depth. Like if you're just gonna play it on the train or something.
Yeah. Or as George would say, gotta see it on the big screen.
That's right. George knows what he's talking about, man. He's professional.
Awesome. What's Bryce's favorite game? Do you know?
Oh man. Maybe Jedi Academy. Does like the KOTOR games, but I feel like he'd probably be more in line with Jedi Academy, or maybe Battlefront 2, the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he probably leaned towards Battlefront 2 because that was a very, very prominent game in his childhood.
Yeah, gotcha. Awesome. All right, we'll do one more here, and then we'll call it an evening and save the rest for later.
There we go. Okay.
All right, I'm here with
Riley Quasey.
Hi there, Riley. So my question to you is, what is your favorite Star Wars movie? But what is one thing that you would like to change from any of the Star Wars movies? So your favorite, but then what's something you'd like to change?
I think my favorite movie would just have to be A New Hope. Just the very first film, just
a classic. That's a classic.
Just,
all right.
Old school, but it really set up the scene for the rest of them.
It did.
And if I could change anything, I don't know. I don't think I would change anything. I mean, you can't change perfection. There's no need to change something that isn't.
That's a beautiful answer. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's a beautiful answer.
I mean,
all right.
Don't tamper with it, right?
That's true. All right. Well, Josh, there you go, man. That's the answer. All right. That's a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Riley. Well, that is the answer, I guess. You know, if you have a favorite movie, I guess it would be perfect. But I guess the challenge is like trying to find the flaw, right? I don't know, what would you say is, I mean, I guess you would probably choose like Empire, right? What would you change about it?
Oh, I thought you could pick any movie to change.
No, it's got to be your favorite. It's got to be your only your favorite. What's your favorite Star Wars movie, and what would you change about it? Yeah.
Here I know something from A New Hope I'd like to change. Yeah, I would go with Empire as my favorite. I don't want to change in Empire.
It's a tough one to answer, right? Because like, I think what makes something our favorite is like when we just like every aspect about it. But I guess trying to find the flaw. I mean, so my favorite would be Revenge of the Sith, but I guess a flaw of that movie is that it could be another hour long. And, I would honestly...
You want more?
I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
But I can.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing, right? It's such a full movie. Like there is no wasted time anywhere in that movie, and I think that's sort of the downside of it because it feels so packed. That's what led a lot of people to complain about the initial presentation of Anakin's downfall, right? And I get Clone Wars really helps a lot of those viewers, but I mean, for most people that would just watch the movies, it's like, well, where'd that come from? Like, you know, like I can't relate to this guy making a deal with the devil for, you know, like the possibility of something that might not happen end up happening. And I don't know, it's just like, not everyone can relate to that, but it's one of those things where, you know, if the movie was so much longer, you could definitely have more time with Sidious and the political side of things. And there was so many good cut scenes that involved a young Mon Mothma who Genevieve O'Reilly has since re-portrayed her character in Rogue One and in Andor. And all her scenes out of Revenge of the Sith were completely cut because the movie was just too short. It had to be short for the theater at the time. And nowadays we have movies like Avatar and Endgame, which are, you know, 3 hours long, and that's all good. But yeah, I think the movie could have benefited a lot from like an additional 30 to 45 minutes to an hour. And I think anyone would have sat there and watched it with like, you know, like hands down, like no issues. You know, it's like it's at the time it was the last Star Wars movie. Like why not go all out and you know, explain things a bit more and throw in more clones killing Jedi and random stuff like that, right? Like you could pick out so many sequences throughout the movie and say like I want more time spent on this one thing, and that would be insanely cool. So I think that's what I would change about it. I would make it longer.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not technically following the rules, but A New Hope is my second favorite, and there's one scene that it is a special edition scene, and it's I can get a lot of the special edition changes, even if I don't necessarily agree with them. But there's one that just bothers me so much, and I don't know why it's there. And it's just before Obi-Wan uses the mind trick on the stormtroopers on their way into Mos Eisley. And there's that stupid creature. It's not a dewback. I forget what it is. It's very tall. And
it's a Ronto.
And it just walks in front of camera and just blocks the entire scene. And I'm like, why is this happening? And it just takes me out of the movie every time.
So you would remove essentially what was placed there as an improvement to George.
Well, I'm like, George is allowed to have his opinion, but and to me, it just distracts from the entire thing that's happening in the movie.
I have a Star Wars miniature called Jawa on Ronto, or is it Ronto or Rondo, or I think it's Ronto.
That's from Phantom Menace, though, when he falls off.
And was that when he falls off? Well, maybe was that in Phantom Menace too?
Maybe I'm getting mixed up now, but that's what I thought it was.
Yeah. I think it's the same creature though. I think, isn't it? Or maybe it's a different one.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the really tall, almost. It's like a really fat giraffe.
Yeah. That's the Ronto, I think. Yeah. That's yeah. I've got the Star Wars miniature for that. I think of that with the miniature every single time I see that scene. I don't know why.
So you look very fondly at that scene.
I mean, like you can't like not see it. It's just filling up the whole frame. You know what I mean? Like it's so close to camera.
Oh, it literally blocks everything. You can't see the stormtroopers or the speeder or the main characters anymore because it literally just walks in front of the camera like this thing is massive and is like a meter away.
I can see what they were trying to do though with that scene. I
think George just didn't like the scene, so he tried to cover it up.
Well, okay. So a lot of those moments, the reason why a lot of that was done, and I forget where I heard this. It was either on a special editions bonus feature or something, but it was basically just to add more life to these environments, which we'd only seen, because you
right, and I see what you're saying, and it's true for a lot of it in the background.
Well, and the bookend scenes
in between shots.
Yeah, the transition scenes and stuff. Yeah. So,
and that's what I was saying. Like some of it, like a lot of it, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to like flesh it out, make it like a really busy city or whatever. But this one scene specifically is just so out of place and is so distracting. And I don't know why they did it. Because it actually takes away from what's happening.
I can just picture you on the couch, like just tilting your head ever so slightly to the right to trying to look around the Ronto as it passes by.
I just grumble and throw popcorn at the TV.
So good. I love it. All right.
Get out of here.
That's amazing. All right. Well, I think that's all the show that we got for this evening, and we'll be doing our Tales of the Jedi next week for Bearers Offie. So I'm looking forward to going through that with you. And yeah, super exciting. And then we'll figure out what to do after that. But I did have something in mind. I was going to bring it up, and then I totally blanked out on what our thing after the Tales of the Empire. But anyways, yeah, I'll announce it next week. Anyways,
you'll probably
yeah. But we got more Newfoundland videos to go through, and so we'll be going through those next week as well. And so yeah, for those of you who are from Newfoundland and tuning in, I hope this is the Star Wars podcast of your choice, and just send it to all your fellow Canadians. We will catch you in the next one, Blake.
Thanks for having me on. It's always a good time. See you out there. Keep flying.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast. We really appreciate all of our audience across the world and so many amazing countries here and there. It's awesome to see the stats, just kind of numbers from all over the place, and we appreciate you sharing your show with family and friends, other Star Wars fans, etc. It really helps us out a lot, and it really helps us out if you leave a 5-star review, because the more reviews we get, the more relevant the podcast becomes in the search indexes, and helps people discover the show for themselves down the road. Also gives us the longevity that this show will have for many years to come, with the older episodes and so on and so forth. So it really does help us out a lot. As you know, we're ad-free, unmonetized, don't make a penny out of this. So, I mean, it's really just a love of Star Wars that keeps us coming back every week, and an appreciation for all of you guys enjoying what we do here. So thank you to you. And of course, as always, may the Force be with you. We will see you in the next episode of Star Wars Escape Pod.